one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it because you can.
We get this story from MSN.com. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, has fired as many as 20 FBI agents, including a group associated with the 2020 incident in which agents were photographed kneeling with demonstrators at the height of protests over the police killing of George Floyd, according to two people who were briefed on this matter. Now, the latest round of dismissals at the Bureau came at the end of a review by the FBI's Inspection Division and recommendations evaluated by the Bureau's General Counsel's Office, according to someone who was briefed on this. Now, as many as 20 people were terminated in the last round of ousters, including about 15 associated with the kneeling incident, according to certain sources. The FBI declined to comment on the firings. The FBI Agents Association, in a statement to CNN, criticized FBI Director Kash Patel's leadership and said the dismissals violate the due process rights of the agents. Patel's dangerous new pattern of actions are weakening the Bureau because they eliminate valuable expertise and damage trust between leadership and the workforce and make it harder to recruit and retain skilled agents, ultimately putting our nation at greater risk, said the organization. The kneeling incident in Washington, D.C. gained notoriety inside the FBI and drew criticism, particularly in conservative media and among some retired agents. It occurred in the summer of 2020 during the height of protests over racism and heavy-handed policing tactics, following Floyd's death when the country burned, after a group of agents were confronted by a group of protesters. President Donald Trump had urged then Attorney General Bill Barr to regain control of the streets. Barr ordered the FBI and other agencies to deploy agents to help with crowd control and protect federal buildings. However, FBI agents generally aren't trained to do crowd control, and deploying them face-to-face with demonstrators raised fears of a possible deadly confrontation, current and former Bureau officials have said. FBI leadership at the time pushed back against Bill Barr, but eventually relented. Some of the agents that day, recalling how National Guard soldiers had handled a similar confrontation, decided to try kneeling as a way to de-escalate tensions. Well, police chiefs were doing it. It worked, and the protesters moved on. Later, after photos emerged, a furious reaction erupted. Top officials under former FBI Director Christopher Wray reviewed the incident and determined that, given the context, there was no violation of policy, current and former officials said. But earlier this year, FBI officials decided to reassess the incident, and agents involved were given reassignments, viewed as demotions by many inside the agency. FBI officials offered no explanation for changing the roles to less coveted positions for the agents. And Friday's firings are part of a broader effort by new FBI leaders to make good on promises to root out what Trump has called woke and politicized elements inside the agency. I'm going to get back to that. The Justice Department said earlier this year that it is reviewing the conduct of more than 1,500 agents associated with cases that have found disfavor in the new Trump era, including investigations of the president and his allies. Two senior FBI officials, including one who initially resisted the Trump administration's effort to gather the names of agents who worked on cases related to the U.S. Capitol attack on January 6, 2021, were fired last month. They were fired, CNN previously reported. But a couple of things here. The thing I was going to get back to, so basically they knelt and the protesters kind of went, it went away. What? They didn't take them on? They didn't fire pepper balls into their face? They didn't gas them? What's going on with you guys, man? Come on, we're supposed to beat the protesters down like thugs. We're not supposed to kneel and de-escalate and say, go away. I mean, I don't know. That's the image I'm getting, is that they knelt It de-escalated and the protest moved. Oh my God, fire them. Why? Because they de-escalated? Exactly. They didn't escalate it into something where they could fire gas and pepper balls into the face of these protesters and hurt them and beat them down with billy clubs. And that's why. I mean, that's my opinion. That's not fact. But my opinion is based on what we're seeing. They de-escalated, fire them. What? I thought you were supposed to de-escalate. But then the other thing, they're saying Trump is calling them woke. Why? Because they're de-escalating? I don't know. It just seems to me, this is my opinion, that this current presidential administration is all about force on the American people. I mean, you got these guys from the FBI who investigated Trump and his allies, fire them because they're investigating me. Didn't Cuba and Iraq share something like that where you speak out against the national leader, you're no longer heard from again? I'm just saying. And then we got soldiers marching into the streets. Soldiers, not cops. Tanks and camouflage and Kevlar helmets. Didn't that happen in 1939? In 1939 in Berlin, I think that happened. Yeah. But I'm just saying, it just seems to me, I mean, we need a strong leader in America. Look, first and foremost, we need a president that's strong. We do. Because other countries will push us around. Because people hate the United States of America, if you didn't know that. But when the presidential administration starts turning on the American people, now you got a problem. Now it's a problem. But the problem here is these FBI agents being fired, and they're saying, well, they knelt. They were kneeling instead of doing their job. What, escalating and shooting pepper balls into the people? It's my opinion. I want to know what you all think. Let me know.